Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TFE podcast, the total franchise experience where, say it with me, fantasy is at its finest. And I am here today, January 22nd, tail end of the auction, to talk about the Chicago Cubs. And let me just say, Joshua, you have managed to again fuck up the auction, but also put together one of the more interesting teams maybe in the entire league, but at the very least, so far that I've been looking at here during the preseason ponderings, the Cubs are mighty interesting. You may see from the outset the theme of what has been the. Let me say that again. What has been a continuation of what has been the theme of these first six videos: a lack of depth. And the Cubs really have a lack of depth. They have no third baseman. Now, I'm not sure that maybe Josh doesn't have a player or two that he hasn't added yet, but what I can say is that even if he does, it's probably not an impact third baseman like, a 500 AB third baseman or anything like that. But then the bats that he does have, really, really nice. He goes out, he spends $37, which feels pretty cheap for Juan Soto. He spends $1 on Justin Turner. He's got James Wood. He's got Colt Keith. He's got Michael Busch. All very exciting young players. Not at great prices. I'd be fine with $13 James Wood. I think he's definitely worth being higher than what a prospect price would be. But I don't love $15 Colt Keith. I don't know how I feel about $13 Mikey Busch. I like him. I do. I like Michael Busch. I like Matt Shaw. I like a lot of these young Cubs. I like Alcantara. I love Pete Crow. I'm a lifelong Cardinal fan, and my God, throughout especially the late '90s, early 2000s, man, did I really hate the Cubs. I just hated the Cubs growing up in Central Illinois. I hated Sammy. I still hate Carlos Zambrano. I can't fucking stand that guy. I never could stand that guy. Just Corey Patterson, the overhyping of Corey Patterson, of Bobby Hill, of Felix PA. I just hated the Cubs. I really did. I had idiot friends in high school that were big Cub fans, and it was just every summer, man. Every summer, just hated the Cubs. But with some of the youth, that I'm kind of turning into liking the Cubs. Like I said, all those guys I just talked about, I like them. Cade Horton is exciting. Ben Brown is exciting. It's a fun time to maybe be a Cubs fan. Not sure how fun of a time it is to be a TFE Cubs fan. The lineup looks great until you realize, no third baseman, no backups to speak of for anywhere. Not a lot of flexibility. Soto only plays right. Wood only plays left. Mason Wynn only plays short. Keith only plays second, and Mikey Busch only plays first. So there's a obvious lack of depth, and there's an obvious lack of positional flexibility as well. It kind of really is a couple of big dings in an otherwise potentially really nice lineup. Now, there are some prospects that could easily see big league time this year. Colson Montgomery could easily see big league time this year. Maybe Dalton Rushing could see big league time this year. I don't know if he can or not, or if he will or not. The Dodgers are so stacked. And I do think Colson will probably be up, though. The White Sox don't really have anybody standing in the way. So if Colson can hit, then he'll probably be okay. Chase DeLauter, if he can get both of his feet to work, he's probably got a shot at big league at-bats this year. Now, is that going to help Josh's flexibility problem? Not really, because DeLauter plays right field. Juan Soto plays right field. So, it's super interesting. Now let's take a look other than Juan Soto, what he really did in the auction. That was go after some pitching. He shells out $31 for Spencer Strider, $12 for Alexis Diaz, $17 for Yohan Duran, and $13 for Tanner Scott. So if you see the pattern here, he went big for relievers, wanted to get some relief pitching points, which I did as well, and I didn't have the money for. And that was definitely a deficiency on my own team last year. I was missing a lot of points really every night from those RP spots, and I'm going to be doing it again this year. So Josh definitely maybe saw that with his own Cubs last year, remedied that situation. But again, going to have a lot of trouble getting those 7 starts a week with a coming off of TJ Strider, a coming off of TJ Alcantara. It's hard to believe Matt Boyd is only 33. It feels like he's like 43. And he was fine. For $3, he was fine. Joey Estes, not sure if he slots into the A's rotation. It's kind of maybe like a Colson Montgomery situation where there's not a whole lot holding him out if he can just perform a little bit. But the point stands, Cubs are going to have a lot of trouble filling out a lineup every day and a lot of trouble hitting 7 starts. They're going to get really great relief pitching. And as a potential like a 1-2-3 punch going forward, if he has the money to sign Strider to any kind of contract, Strider comes back looking good, he's probably going to get 1 or 2 years out of the Cubs at least for $33 and $35. And you're talking Strider, Alcantara, and Jared Jones as a top 3. Now you're talking. You're talking about a very legitimate top 3. Then still not a whole lot after that, but we're talking about the future here. Who knows what the Cubs are going to look like? But as it is today, 22nd of January, tail end of the auction, those are sexy names, but I don't know that they're going to be providing sexy results, at least not in 2025. So, I mean, Josh, like I said, it's a super interesting team. And again, there's a top pitching prospect, Cade Horton, sitting there waiting in the wings. So he's got some youth. He's got some really interesting prospects. And then he's got some youth that are signed a bit expensively. Maybe these guys all end up being worth it, but you're kind of, for each of them, really, for Keith, for Bush, for Wynn and Wood, and you're really hoping that these guys were, like all of them are like $10 cheaper than they were last year, but especially coming into this year. And I think in that and keeping those guys signed, Josh ran into the auction issue. He didn't have the money to really go out and get what he needed. He did fill the hole in the bullpen. He did sign Strider, but as we can see, there's holes in the lineup and a big gaping one on the bench where any depth or flexibility would really help out in a 30-team league with daily lineups. So the Cubs, man, I don't know. Josh is going to make a trade or two. I'm almost certainly. Things are not going to remain the status quo, but I'm doing these as I look at them today. I think it's a little bit too much for the Cubs to overcome. Who knows when Alcantara and Strider actually get back and get healthy and are throwing, back to themselves, throwing 6, 7, 8, in the case of Alcantara, 9 innings. Who knows? Are they both doing that this year? Are they both doing it at the same time? Is that 1-2 punch helping him win weeks when the bats go off all at the same time together? Is Josh going to immediately dangle Juan Soto for 2 or 3 big leaguers? I don't know. It's a super interesting team. There's a lot of names that I'm attracted to at prices that I'm not necessarily all that attracted to, but I like the Cubs. I want to like the Cubs, but I think Josh may have stepped in it a little bit, spending so much money on relief pitching. And unless this guy could have plans and machinations going on where he's going to fill this lineup and bench out, right quick. But you got to realize there's 29 other guys that are going to be in that first fab run with you. And a lot of us, I left the auction with fewer than 26 players. I've got spots still to fill as well. There's going to be a lot of us in that fab hunt with you, in that fab bloodbath, Fabapalooza, whatever you want to call it. So I'll be very interested to see what the plans are for the Cubs between now and opening day. We'll say that. But as they are now, I think it's a little bit too much to overcome, but definitely has the talent to make up for it if he can get the team filled out. So I'm going to put the Cubs on like the good side of the 50-50. So I'm going to give them 5.8 hot dogs with celery salt out of 10. Now that sounds low, but there's a lot of problems here. He's missing a lot of at-bats. He's missing a lot of innings. So I don't want to sound like I'm slamming anybody when I do these, you know what I mean? But I just don't know that I think right now, as it is today, it's difficult to see the Cubs being a playoff team and overcoming all of their self-created obstacles. But I do have faith that Josh can put something or some things together that helps to patch up those holes and shore up this team a little bit. You need starting pitching. Really need the starting pitching to at least carry you through the first half of this season, and then maybe you get your two horses back and you kick hard to the finish, and then that's a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs. Now, I don't. Towards the end of the season, are Alcantara and Strider going to be throwing innings? Probably not Sandy. If the Marlins aren't going to be in it, maybe Strider. Maybe he's enough of a horse to where he's not getting super limited. But this team seems like it's built more already for next year than it is for 2025. That's not to say he can't do something this year. Crazier things have happened, certainly, but you've got some hurdles, my friend. You've got some hurdles. Was he thinking too much about the EPS? Is his mind elsewhere with the EPS auction starting in a few days? Was Josh's attention divided between the TFE Cubs and the EPS, whatever he is? Who's to say? Only one guy knows the answer to that, and that's Josh. So, but yeah, what did I say? 5.8 celery salt hot dogs, Chicago style, drug through the garden with celery salt hot dogs, all kinds of other vegetable shit on them. 5.8 cans of old style piss beer. Yeah, that's the Cubs. All right, that's the Cubs. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.